Chapter 72. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although Yang Nai made an excessive request to test him, the other party did not get angry immediately, but said calmly. I'm afraid this isn't enough. What else do you want? Orochimaru licked the corner of his mouth with his tongue. I want the Sharingan. This is not difficult. Yang Nai smiled softly. During the coup, I did collect a few Sharingans, which were salvaged from the bodies of dead clansmen. If you need them, we can exchange them fairly. In addition, there are still hundreds of Uchiha clan members in Konoha. Although most of them have not opened the Sharingan, if you really want, your intelligence network in the village is enough to get a few Sharingans. They are just ordinary people. Orochimaru's yellow vertical pupils flashed with excitement. What I want is your Sharingan, Uchiha Yono. Yono felt as if she was being locked by some predator. She suddenly found that a purple python appeared from the shadow cast by her body and directly entangled the girl's body. Then Orochimaru took action. A Kusanagi sword came out of his snake mouth, pierced Yono's shoulder, and nailed her to the stone wall of the underground base. Orochimaru's vertical pupils turned, as if he was admiring a wonderful prey. I didn't expect that the power I was eager to get would actually be in front of me. I couldn't stand it for even a second longer, even if I was expelled from the Akatsuki organization. Sure enough, will you do this? That when Orochimaru's plan was about to succeed, a cold voice suddenly came from the sky, waking him up. As a Sannin, his intuition made him focus all his attention immediately, and the next thing he felt was the abnormality of the chakra flow in his body. When Orochimaru lifted the illusion in front of him, he found that the two were still standing there intact, and the girl stared at him with a playful look. As expected of someone who can cooperate with Danzo. In terms of your desire for the power of our Uchiha clan, you are the same kind of people. So, Lord Orochimaru, guess what Danzo's ending was? Orochimaru lowered his eyes, trying to avoid looking directly at Uchiha Haruno, and answered in a hoarse voice. Unfortunately, his progress in transplanting the cells of the first Hokage was too slow, and he failed to seize Uchiha Shirsue's Mangekyo as planned. Therefore, his strength has not improved over the years, but has become weaker due to his age. But if you think I am as easy to deal with as Danzo, you are wrong. Although there is fear in the lowered vertical pupils, it seems that he still does not give up and is eager to take away Yang No's power. It's a pity that you don't have a chance now. Yang Nai said calmly. Even if you really have the ability to take away my power, you must not forget where we are. Even if the fighting is a little louder, it will attract the attention of other members of the Akatsuki organization. In this case, why do you have to force your move? Yang Nai rolled his eyes and said strangely. What's more, I'm just a little girl. She was sweating a little at her words when she said this. Although it's for power, if you want to take over this body, it will probably be very inconvenient for you, an old man who is almost 50 years old. What's more, there are powers that are more worthy of your possession. Orochimaru was not surprised why she knew that he could possess a body instead of just digging out his eyes. After all, the other party knew the details of Danzo's cooperation with him. What's more, Yang No's words were indeed partly right, and the power shown by the girl before was enough to deter Orochimaru's ambition, so he asked. What did you say? It's very simple. It was Uchiha Itachi who opened the Mangekyo Sharingan on the night of the Uchiha Rebellion. He is a few years older than me, and is known as the #1 genius in the clan. His ninjutsu ability is far superior to mine. To be honest, I don't have any powerful ninjutsu at the moment. And his awakened Mangekyo ability, I'm sure your intelligence network also knows about it. Orochimaru nodded. It is the legendary immortal black flame of Amaterasu. It was that flame that burned down the Root organization's headquarters. In terms of destructive power, it is indeed an extremely powerful ability. Plus, Yang Nai said while the iron was hot. As a member of Akatsuki, you should have heard about the plan I proposed to the leader of Akatsuki. Ninja World War. I can't believe it. By that time, the chaotic Konoha will be in a state of being unable to take care of itself, and this is the time for you to sneak in. At that time, you only need to sneak into Konoha and wait for an opportunity to seize Uchiha Itachi's ability. Then everything will be fine. I know what you said, but what is your purpose in saying it? You don't think you can make a deal with me by relying on these things I already know, and get all kinds of forbidden ninjutsu from me, right? Of course not. Yang Nai smiled slightly. As I said before, if our communication goes smoothly, we can exchange some information from time to time. Or I can use the scrolls containing forbidden ninjutsu obtained from the forbidden ninjutsu library to exchange for some of the forbidden ninjutsu you are developing. I have taken a quick look at those scrolls, and I have already got the ones I am interested in. The only ones left are the ninjutsu that I am not very interested in and do not have time to learn. Orochimaru shook his head and said, "Now that the trial is over and the direction of the transaction has been determined, we can put aside the specific conditions. How about this, you give me a way to contact you, so that we can have some regular exchanges in the future. As long as one of us puts forward a condition, the other party cannot refuse it. After the completion, we can also put forward the same condition to the other party, and the other party cannot refuse it. This will serve as the cornerstone of trust." Yang Nai said, "What do you think of this proposal?" Another advantage of this proposal is that it does not limit the time for proposing conditions, which means that before thinking of new conditions, you can always retain the right to propose conditions to the other party. Putting forward excessive conditions that are impossible to meet means the complete end of the transaction relationship. Okay. Orochimaru's eyes flashed. "It's settled then, very good, I'll tell you how to contact me." Chapter 73. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The three Magatama Sharingan in Yang No's eyes turned. After a breath of time, Orochimaru woke up from his dream. He thought he had lifted the illusion, but the communication between them was still in a scene created by the illusion. He didn't even notice it, then he thought about it and understood that Yang No's intention was obviously to avoid some kind of monitoring equipment here, therefore, important information is communicated in illusions. To outsiders, the two of them just stood there quietly for a while. In a daze, Orochimaru was silent for a while, and his desire for the bloodline limit of the Sharingan became stronger. He spit out a snake from his mouth, and the snake spit out a scroll. He silently handed the scroll to Yang No and told her how to use it. Yang No felt a little disgusted by the sticky stuff on it, so she tore a piece of her sleeve casually, took the scroll and put it into her summoning talisman, and the deal between the two was officially established. Walking in the sunshine in the woods, with a girl on the thumbjie's left hand supported her bamboo hat. Yang No felt indescribably strange now, not because of the loose Akatsuki robe she was wearing. In fact, Yang No still cherished the time when she could wear this dress. After all, as the leader of the Akatsuki branch in the future, she still didn't plan to wear it so ostentatiously, but would choose more ordinary clothes. There were other reasons that really made her feel strange. Have you ever imagined that you and other people form a team of 3 people, and your 2 teammates are Kakuzu who is frugal and Konan who is cold and indifferent? Our Miss Yang No is currently in this scene. If you ask her how she feels, it is that she is suffocated. Well, if possible, she hopes to form a team with Deidara, Faden and a certain Afei who have not yet joined the Akatsuki organization. How come these 3 people who joined Akatsuki the latest are more talkative than each other? Wait, if you think about it this way, then isn't she also considered one of the new members of this chatterbox? Shaking her head, Yang No had been trying to strike up a conversation with these 2 people since just now, but she could never find any entry point. She tried to ask questions from different angles, and was able to get answers about the bounties of some well-known ninjas, but she was not satisfied with this official tone. Why not ask about the details of his fight with the first Hokage? But before she could open her mouth, Yang No saw a young man dressed in a neither rustic nor western style walking towards them on the road. He was carrying a large sickle with many blades on his back, and Yang No knew that the man was Haiden. Seeing that his way ahead was blocked by 3 people dressed strangely, Haiden stroked his big gray back hair and started to yell. "Hey, who are you? You are dressed so strangely and you are blocking my way," Yang Nai complained. "I think your dress is also quite strange." "The target is confirmed, it's him," Xiaonan said, let's test his strength first. Kakuzu snorted. He looks like a guy who will die soon. He showed his bronze wrist, which had a clear black stitch. He moved his wrist and walked towards Faden. Hey, who are you? Before Haiden finished speaking, Kakuzu, who couldn't stand his nagging anymore, attacked directly. He fired his fist with countless black threads behind it at Haiden like a cannonball. In Yangno's dynamic vision, Kakuzu's move, whether it was the timing of the punch or the speed, made this move look extremely fast, is that the experience Kakuzu has accumulated after living for more than half a century. The young man Haiden on the opposite side obviously didn't have the ability to dodge the punch. Even until his chest was directly pierced by the punch, he still had an expression as if he had seen a ghost. He stared at Kakuzu intently, as if he was blaming him for not having martial ethics and attacking him immediately without waiting for him to finish speaking. Kakuzu turned his head, glanced at Conan with his green eyes, and said in a low voice. Is this the powerful ninja that the organization found and claimed to be my partner? Yanori was speechless. Although she knew that Fadewan was immortal, she didn't expect that the other party would be shot through the chest by the angle at the first encounter. His combat awareness and combat experience were really poor, but it was also true. A small country like Kuni that was accustomed to peace, how could it have the ability to cultivate powerful ninjas with rich combat awareness? At this time, Fadewan suddenly spoke. Hey, you bastard. This hurts, damn it. Kakuzu was slightly startled, and saw that his arm was suddenly cut by Haiden's sickle, leaving a bloody line. He immediately withdrew his hand, but then Haiden used his own blood that fell on the ground to quickly draw a triangle mark in a circle. Then, in full view of everyone, he directly launched the blood curse of the death officer and pierced his heart with a long and sharp weapon. Kakuzu was still in surprise, and suddenly felt his chest hit hard. His leg softened and he knelt directly on the ground. The curse just now directly broke a heart in his chest. It's the power of the curse, be careful. Yanori played the role of the battlefield commentator who was always late without any psychological burden. Looking at Haiden whose body turned black and white and activated some kind of curse, she continued. It seems that the curse of the other party is activated through blood. The injured part of the body will cause the cursed person to suffer the same damage. You bastard. Kakuzu gritted his teeth and said. That's a heart I've treasured for a long time. As he spoke, in front of Haiden's surprised eyes, Kakuzu slowly stood up again, and countless black threads of resentment flowed out of the Akatsuki's robes, wriggling as if they had their own life. You bastard. Fadewan, who thought he had accomplished his mission just now, was sweating, but he still forced a sneer and said, is he also immortal? Hurry up, Haruno. This is your first mission. Let me see how you perform. Haruno slowly drew out the katana in his hand, and blue lightning appeared on his body, drawing an arc in the air, just when Kakuzu was a little hesitant and did not dare to attack Haiden directly, and chose to try to block the opponent's actions, he made a decisive move. Chapter 74. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next moment, Kakuzu saw Haruno appear in front of Haiden. Are you sure you want to attack me? Haiden grinned. If you hurt me, your companions will also. With a swish, Fadewan instinctively dodged backwards, and suddenly felt a coolness coming from the root of his nose, followed by a burning pain that gradually spread. At that moment, his entire nose was cut off by Yangno, and the remaining face, combined with his black and white face, looked more like a skeleton. Asshole, what are you doing? Kakuzu's angry roar came from far behind. He was obviously also affected by the curse. Yangna didn't need to look back to know that he must be looking for his nose on the ground. Oops, I missed. I'm so sorry, Kakuzu-senpai. Yangno said sarcastically. Conan frowned. She didn't expect that the girl would go straight up and use a knife when she knew the other party's curse ability. Then, she saw the sickle in Haiden's hand coming with great force, bringing a series of sounds of breaking through the air, but it was easily blocked by Yangno. After a few exchanges, Yangno made an evaluation of Haiden's ability in sickles and close combat. Not strong, just at the level of Danzo, maybe a little worse. Damn it. After seeing that Yang No was not at a disadvantage in close combat with him and that she had directly moved away from his close combat range, Haydn, who was unable to move due to the curse, cursed in his mouth, he tried to attack again and threw the sickle in his hand directly at the girl. This attack was avoided by Yang No by turning sideways, and he saw that Haydn suddenly tightened the rope in his hand, and the sickle behind Yang No spun and attacked him again. It seems that your moves are nothing new. Yono's body rolled and spun in the air, skillfully avoiding the slash, so that Haydn's sickle did not get a trace of her blood. Yono broke away from contact with Haydn, came to Kakuzu who had just installed a nose for her, and said nonchalantly, "I have thought of a way to crack his ability." The lifeless green eyes glared at her and said impatiently, "If you have something to say, please say it quickly." Yono knew that Kakuzu was like this, so she didn't care. You just need to get him away from the curse formation under his feet, and his curse will not work. At this time, Kakuzu had taken off all his clothes, and those monsters wearing masks and made of black lines stood beside him. At this time, he only had 2 hearts on him to protect him. If Faden hit him a few more times, he might not be able to bear it. Hearing Yang No's words, Kakuzu directly controlled a strange masked black shadow and used the wind pressure technique. A strong airflow swept towards Faden. This ninjutsu, which was at least above the power of a jonin, was very powerful. Although Faden tried his best to use chakra to attach to the soles of his feet and absorb the ground, he was still blown away from the range of the curse formation. On the other hand, Kakuzu's body was also damaged by his own wind pressure technique because of the curse, and countless fine wounds appeared on his skin, but he was still able to hold on. Just a few breaths after Haydn's body was pulled out of the curse circle, Kakuzu, who finally didn't have to worry about the backlash of the curse, punched Haydn in the side of the face, spinning him and smashing him onto a huge rock beside him, raising a cloud of dust. The 3 of them approached. They saw Haydn struggling to get up, but Kakuzu stretched the twisted and tangled earth wrath directly in front of his neck. Your strength is mediocre, but your abilities are very interesting. Join Akatsuki, or I'll kill you here. Kakuzu actually took the initiative to recruit Haydn to join. After some physical persuasion, Haydn finally agreed to Akatsuki's invitation, as long as Akatsuki could continue to guarantee his right to preach. Of course, this was as good as saying nothing. In the past few years, Haydn's preaching in various places has basically not been successful, and no one believes it. Standing up, shaking off the dust, and verbally promising to join Akatsuki, Haydn's first thing to do was to look for his nose all over the ground, looking quite funny, but because Kakuzu had used the wind pressure technique before, blowing Haydn away from his curse mark, he couldn't find his nose at all, and God knows where it was blown to. Kakuzu said impatiently. Okay, let's just find someone on the roadside and give you his nose. Faden immediately said dissatisfiedly. Are you kidding me? I have made such a great sacrifice, but I am not willing to go with you without my original nose. Yang Nai took the opportunity to say. Haydn, as an apology for what happened before, I will give you a better nose, shall I? After saying that, she took out a scroll from the robe of the Akatsuki organization and performed a summoning technique. After the white smoke, a corpse of a Konoha ninja appeared in front of them. That was what Obito, who had transformed into a garbage collector, asked for afterwards. Kakuzu's expression moved, and he, who was well informed, immediately said. That sign is, corpses of the Konoha Inuzuka clan. That's right. Yang Nai nodded and said. The Inuzuka clan is famous for their coordinated attacks with the ninja dogs. They also use chakra to constantly train the olfactory cells inside their nasal cavity, making their sense of smell as sensitive as that of the ninja dogs, and can track even the slightest smell in the air. This is the ninja I defeated during the Uchiha rebellion. Don't you think this is a very suitable ability for you? Haydn. Hey, little girl, are you kidding me? I don't want to pretend to be a dog. This is not a dog's nose, but a nose as sensitive as a ninja dog's. Don't be ungrateful. Kakuzu actually chimed in. As a pragmatist, he hoped that his future teammates could be equipped with this thing, which would help him track down those bounty-bearing ninjas more conveniently in the future. This is using Haydn like a dog. But, Yang No said. Think about it, your ability is triggered by the enemy's blood that sticks to your weapon, right? In other words, you can't tell whether the blood on it belongs to the enemy or not. And what if that blood is from your teammate, and the enemy gets it on your sickle, and you rashly activate that ability? Wouldn't that just be the result of someone else's trick? But as long as you install this nose, you will no longer be afraid of someone tampering with the blood issue. The problem you mentioned does exist. Haydn stroked his slick back hair and said. After all, I won't be a lone wolf anymore. So, under Yongno's persuasion, he reluctantly let Kakuzu use the sutures of the Earth Grudge to install an Inuzuka clan nose for him. Chapter 75. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It was the current look that made Haydn not very satisfied. His former handsome face was gone, but he looked a bit eerie. Seeing that he was not very satisfied with his appearance, Yono persuaded him that although the stitches did not look good, perhaps it could increase his persuasiveness in future sermons. By the way, would anyone really believe in that kind of thing? After some persuasion, Haydn finally accepted it. Conan also felt that the girl had the attitude to contribute to the organization, which increased her favorability, and she looked at Yono differently. After completing this task, Haydn, who had just joined the Akatsuki organization, naturally had to return to the base of the Akatsuki organization. Yono did not go with them. She had her own task and went straight to the direction of the Hot Spring Hotel, where she had asked Kisame to go first and meet up there. Yono was still worried that during the time she was away, the tribe members would encounter some unexpected events. After all, Yono could not guarantee that they were completely out of danger. Now Yono did not know that the assumptions she had made were unfortunately come true. A strange fog, which became thicker and thicker, appeared around the Hot Spring Hotel, making everything around it fall into a strange atmosphere. At first, the Uchiha Yama brothers, who were responsible for guarding the Hot Spring Hotel, did not pay much attention to the fog that suddenly rose from the forest, but then, as the fog became thicker and thicker, the two gradually felt that something was wrong. They immediately summoned the tribesmen, closed all the entrances and exits of the Hot Spring Hotel, and gathered together to prevent anyone from getting lost in the fog. They came to the second floor of the hotel. Looking at the panicked tribesmen, the Yama brothers hoped to count the number of people in the tribe. Except for Uchiha Haruno, the remaining Uchiha tribesmen in the Hot Spring Hotel were 41 people headed by the Uchiha Yama brothers. In addition to these 41 people, the employees and receptionists in the Hot Spring Hotel that they had booked were all on the first floor, which was not Yama's priority target. In the lobby on the second floor, he asked all members to count, starting with himself. I'll go first, he said. Two Uchiha Jaha said. They looked at the tribesmen and found that everyone looked a little nervous, and some of the younger ones didn't understand what was going on. One person asked. What happened? Where is Lord Haruno? Uchiha Yama interrupted immediately. I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. An unnatural thick fog suddenly rose. We may be attacked by the enemy. We are counting the number of people to confirm whether anyone has been attacked. Then, the remaining tribesmen also reported the number one by one. 3. 4. 10 said Uchiha Senkura. She was a little nervous at this time and looked around nervously. She was afraid that the enemy would rush in from the window in the next moment and kill everyone. As they counted one by one, everyone felt relieved. It seemed that no tribe members were lost in the thick fog. Although Uchiha Hana was a medical ninja, she was relatively timid among medical ninjas. She decided to count last. She heard that the number had reached 40. Everyone is here, that's great. Bonai thought to herself, and just as she was about to speak, a male voice suddenly said in the crowd. 41. Uchiha Hana subconsciously felt a little strange, but she still wanted to say 42 foot, but suddenly a great fear came over her and she felt her body become stiff. How could that be? After Lord Yongno left, there should only be 41 Uchiha clan members here. I watched the whole thing just now, and no one skipped a number. So, what's going on? Cold sweat broke out all over her body. The timid Hon didn't know whether she should speak or not. She looked at Uchiha Yama at a loss, wanting to seek help. Hon saw that in his eyes, the reflection of the 3 Magatama Sharingan instantly appeared. that gaze was also cast in her direction. Although he was a special jonin of the former Konoha police force, the Uchiha was a big family of Konoha after all. Uchiha Yama was not completely familiar with his own people, especially the young Uchiha who followed them to the hidden mist village, but he knew Uchiha Hon. The two had known each other since childhood. He had been paying attention to the girl from beginning to end. Seeing that she had not spoken from beginning to end, the number strangely reached 41, he and some of the Uchiha people who were familiar with Hon also felt that something was wrong. Some of them began to make seals and mobilized chakra to open the Sharingan. Don't think that everyone can open the Sharingan without seals. Seeing that some of the tribesmen had noticed it, Uchiha Yama simply reminded them. Be careful, we have one more person here. Just as he finished speaking, a puff of white smoke suddenly shrouded an inconspicuous Uchiha clan member in the center of them. The figure moved very quickly, and a huge machete appeared in the Black Shadow's hand almost immediately. He stretched out his arms, swung his machete into a ball, and attacked the surrounding Uchiha clan members. Fortunately, the people around were also prepared because of Uchiha Noma's reminder. They scattered in all directions, and there were a few screams and blood splattered, but they were all just injured and did not have a fatal effect. Seeing everyone disperse, Uchiha Yama and Uchiha Uchiha threw ninja tools continuously at the enemy who suddenly appeared. The man wore a mask and a forehead protector with the Kirigakure logo. If Yang No was here, he would immediately recognize who the man in front of him was. This is the second owner of the broken sword and beheading sword, Momochi Zabuza, a former member of the Kirigakure Ninja Sword 7. Momochi Zabuza held the beheading sword horizontally in his hand and turned his body sideways, using the blade as big as a door panel to block the ninja tools that were shot straight at them. Just as the Uchiha brothers were trying to manipulate the silk threads in their hands to make the shurikens turn around and attack Zabuza's back, the window on the second floor of the hotel was directly broken through from several directions, and several mist ninjas dressed as rebel ninjas appeared. They attacked with various weapons in their hands, and the Uchiha clan members who hid aside also opened their Sharingan and took out various ninja tools to fight. Due to the narrow space in the room, their fight was mainly based on ninja tools and physical skills. Therefore, after a while, the Uchiha side relied on the excellent ability to control ninja tools brought by the Sharingan to gain the upper hand in this small battlefield where hidden weapons were flying. Soon, several ninjas dressed as rebel ninjas from the hidden cloud village were injured and retreated from the window in embarrassment. Zabuza waved the beheading sword with one hand, knocked away the wind demon shuriken thrown from the opposite side, and made a seal with one hand. Chapter 76. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Water Style, Water Dragon Bullet Technique. With a loud bang, 1/4 of the roof of the entire inn was directly blown off by this ninjutsu. The dragon head made of water still had a piece of broken rubble in its mouth. As the water drops of the water dragon bullet fell one after another, a large amount of fog poured into the room. Those rebellious ninjas from the hidden mist village were obviously accustomed to this method of fighting. Soon, their figures disappeared in the fog through the hidden mist technique, and they could launch a surprise attack from the dark at any time. Although the Uchiha brothers were also considered the best in the family, as a member of the Konoha police force, they had few opportunities to leave the village and fight against enemy ninjas. Lacking combat experience, they could not find any good ways to deal with it. If they gathered together, it was possible that the Uchiha clan members on the periphery would be eaten up layer by layer. If they dispersed, it would just fall into the opponent's intention and they would be defeated one by one. Therefore, he could only use a stopgap measure first. Everyone gather together, use fire ninjutsu with back-to-back, and attack all around indiscriminately. That he knew this was not a long-term solution, he just hoped to delay for a while, hoping to get a turnaround. Maybe the Uchiha clan's specialty fire ninjutsu could disperse the thick fog caused by this ninjutsu. After parting with Konan, Kakuzu and new member Haiden of the Akatsuki organization, Yang No quickly headed towards the hot spring hotel where the Uchiha clan members were. Although her first mission after joining Akatsuki was completed faster than expected, but the girl still did not let her guard down. She knew the current strength of her clan members. In the eyes of a strong man of her level, they could only serve as some auxiliary forces at most. In the face of the head, they could only be treated as consumables to delay time like those chunins and special jonins in the coup that night. Suddenly, Yang No's beautiful black eyes shrank and 3 magatama slowly appeared in her eyes. In the bushes in front of her, a row of large and small floating bubbles appeared, reflecting colorful light. What is this? Through the Sharingan, she sensed a kind of chakra from the bubbles. Swish, 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 more bubbles came from all directions, spinning and floating towards her. Is the retreat also blocked? After sensing it, Yang No quickly made a seal. Fire style, Phoenix Fire. Well, our classmate Yang No is really not good at ninjutsu. For a ninja with her combat power, who needs to cast a seal to release an ordinary Phoenix Fire? Several balls of orange-red fire spewed out of her mouth and flew towards the bubbles. Those seemingly fragile bubbles collided with the fireballs spit out by Yang No. Although each of her flames could break more bubbles, the number of bubbles was far greater than the flames spit out by Yang No. Therefore, the bubbles surrounded her from all directions. Can't she overwhelm the opponent in terms of numbers? Yang No thought secretly. Swish. A kunai with a thread was thrown out by her and nailed to a tree in the distance. The girl bit the thread in her mouth and made a seal. Fire style, Dragon Fire technique. That the ordinary Dragon Fire technique exerted a power several times greater than usual under the full blessing of Yang No's chakra. This Dragon Fire technique caused by the silk thread formed a thick fire snake, which directly emptied the bubbles in a straight line. Swoosh. Yang No gathered chakra with her feet and stepped on the branches, rushing directly into the gap that she had opened with the Dragon Fire technique. Sorry. Then a young man's calm voice was heard in the woods. But I have received a commission, and the content is to stop you here. The voice was erratic, as if it came from a farther direction. You are hiding your head and showing your tail. Do you dare to show up and fight me? Yang No deliberately provoked him. The man did not reply, but more bubbles floated from a distance. This time the bubbles were bigger and darker in color, and they exploded when they approached the girl. This is strong acid. Seeing the scene of the exploding bubbles splashing on the tree trunks and corroding them instantly, Yang No's pupils shrank slightly. If you get stuck with that kind of thing, you will be skinned if you don't die. However, he only saw that the bubbles also exploded one after another, and the extremely acidic mucus splashed out. Under the attachment of some kind of chakra, it turned out to be conscious. It enveloped all the directions of the girl's escape from all directions, instantly forming a fatal blow. What a pity, I didn't want to kill him. Seeing Yang Nai's figure being swallowed up, the man said calmly. But you should be loyal to the person who entrusted you with the task. Before he finished speaking, his narrowed eyes slightly widened, and he saw that Yang Nai's body was directly turned into a ball of white smoke due to the acid attack. Is it a shadow clone? When? Is it when using the fire ninjutsu? That's right. It's a bit strange that a ninja of this level needs to make such a complicated seal to use this ninjutsu. Is the seal of the shadow clone hidden in it? That everything became clear in an instant, and then I saw a figure spinning and falling above my head, and there was a faint sound of sharp energy breaking through the air. Ding ding ding. He used the metal pipe in his hand and the sword in Yang No's hand to collide several times continuously, and his body jumped back and stood on the tree branch, looking at the target in front of him, who was wearing a black robe with red clouds. The other party was better looking than the intelligence said. Yang No was also looking at the person in front of him. Is it Yugao? The incomplete Six-Tails Jinchuriki, the rebel ninja of the Hidden Mist Village. That person was Yugao, dressed the same as in the original book, wearing a blue kimono, a scroll on his yellow belt, long hair draped over his shoulders, and a lazy look. At this age, he has such skills, he is worthy of being a member of the Uchiha clan, the strongest clan in Konoha. Yugao said. Looks like I have to get serious. Yang No raised an eyebrow and asked, You haven't heard about me? Yugao answered honestly. Are you famous? I only know that you are a member of the Uchiha clan and have the strength comparable to that of an elite jonin. My goal is not to kill you, but to try to delay you. As long as the time is long enough, I can get the bounty. Yanori was both amused and sad. What are you laughing at? Yugao's eyes flashed with anger. Swish. The girl attacked Yugao again. Yugao tried to distance himself from him, but suddenly, his back hit a tree and he had nowhere to retreat. With Yang No's cold smile, the girl's Yamabakiri directly nailed Yugao and the huge tree behind him together. Suddenly, the painful expression on Yugao's face became distorted, like a melted wax figure. Not good. This is... I said I didn't want to kill you, I just wanted to buy you some time. Chapter 77. You are listening at novelfull.audio. From further away, Yugao's voice came, right in front of the girl. Yugao's figure suddenly turned into a pool of splashing concentrated acid. Yang Nao, who was close at hand, could not avoid it and was hit by the clone of the acidic substance. Yugao did not have the bad habit of some people in the second dimension who did not know how to finish off the enemy. Seeing that this attack seemed to be successful, he immediately blew up more bubbles and let them float in the direction of the girl. However, what he did not know was that although he successfully avoided the common rule in anime that villains did not know how to finish off the enemy, at the same time, another rule of smoke without injury was triggered. The latter immediately overwhelmed the former in terms of law. So when the bubbles in front of him dissipated, what Yugao saw was the girl whose body was wrapped in rows of white skeletons and intact, and his own body was firmly grasped in the palm of a white arm that suddenly appeared. What kind of power is this? The power in front of him has exceeded the scope of his knowledge. His body is like being controlled by steel and iron bones, making him unable to break free. It seems that he can only use that power, Yugao thought helplessly. In a flash, the offense and defense changed. A dark red coat composed of tailed beast chakra appeared on his body. As the chakra coat on his body took shape, Yugao directly broke free from the control of Yang No's initial stage of Susanu's arm. There were only 4 red tails behind him, and it seemed that he did not use his full strength. His figure leaped like lightning, and with one claw, Yang No, who was surrounded by Susanu's ribs, flew to the tree beside. The situation of the battle was reversed again. Well, their fight this time was quite in the style of a two-dimensional work, that is, a dynamic battle was directly turned into a round-based system. Of course, since it was a round-based system, Yugao would not be handsome for more than 3 seconds. The next moment, the gloomy chakra on Yang No, who was knocked away, became more condensed, skipped the skeleton state, and directly appeared in the human form of Crow Tengu armor, nailing Yugao, who had turned into a tailed beast, to the ground with a white, rough-shaped broadsword. Yugao, who was in a violent state, lost his reason, became crazy, and desperately attacked Yang No's Susanu. There was another tail behind him. As a ball of high-concentration purple-black chakra gathered in his mouth, Yang Noi suddenly became nervous. She was not stupid enough to take such a small-tailed beast ball at this stage of Susanu, and directly used the instant body technique to avoid this fatal attack. The tailed beast ball penetrated countless trees, startling a large number of birds in the forest, but it did not hit, because the pupil power was concentrated on the instant body technique. The Susanu on Yang Noi's body appeared for a short moment, but soon solidified again, the big sword in his hand became a physical body, turning into the exquisitely patterned big sword, and he quickly launched several slashes in the IAI. The 5-tailed Yugao appeared behind him and took this set of combos. Then, Yugao felt his eyes blurred, and Yang Noi's figure took the opportunity to appear and directly used the 5-element seal on his stomach. As a series of black words appeared, he felt that his uncontrollable tailed beast chakra retreated back into the seal, and his body was nailed to the tree. Yang Noi doesn't know any sealing technique, barrier technique? When did she master this advanced sealing technique to seal the tailed beasts? It seems a bit strange. Looking at Yugao, who had returned to his original form but seemed to still have the strength to struggle, Yang No released Susanoo and said with a victorious smile. I didn't expect you to be the Jinchuriki of the 6 tails. The hidden mist village is really pitiful. Even its own Jinchuriki has become a traitor. I didn't expect you to come to our doorstep and become a prey for our Akatsuki organization. Yugao secretly gathered the strength to fight back, while not forgetting to test the intelligence. He asked. What Akatsuki, are you going to attack the tailed beasts? Are you a secret organization of Konoha village? Well, Akatsuki has become a subsidiary organization of Konoha. I wonder what the bosses of both sides think about this, but it's no wonder Yugao thinks so. He is not well informed and has no power. He still doesn't know about the Uchiha rebellion. When he saw the Uchiha clan members, he subconsciously thought they were ninjas from Konoha, and Akatsuki was also labeled as Konoha, but then again, Akatsuki has a lot of Konoha colors. We, Akatsuki, are not affiliated with any village. We were mercenaries before. Mercenaries? If you dare to covet the tailed beasts, aren't you afraid of attacks from other major villages? Ha ha ha. Yang Nai suddenly burst into wild laughter and said. What are the 5 major ninja villages? Our Akatsuki organization doesn't take them seriously at all. In fact, collecting some of the tailed beasts from the 5 major ninja villages is our Akatsuki organization's plan. This plan was just launched not long ago. The goal is to knock out a Jinchuriki like you, take him away, and then seal him. Yugao's eyes flashed with disbelief. He didn't expect that there would be an organization so bold. He turned and snorted coldly. I was just chosen to be the 6 tails Jinchuriki of Kirigakure. I am not perfect in any aspect. If it was the 4th Mizukage who was close to being a perfect Jinchuriki, how could your Akatsuki organization capture him? Yanano was worried for Yugao. The other party's ability to trick people was really worrying. How could she cooperate with the other party to avoid being exposed? But on the surface, she said as if she had fallen into the other party's trap on purpose. Our Akatsuki members work in pairs, and usually only one person can handle a half-assed Jinchuriki like you. Even those Jinchuriki who claim to be able to perfectly control the tailed beasts have no chance of winning against 2 people. Yugao shouted coldly, what a joke. I'm not kidding. Yanano said. In fact, our organization has a base nearby, and there are at least 4 members of my level there. If you meet them, you will be tortured to death by them. Poor you, a traitorous ninja who is a Jinchuriki, but you don't know what you want to accomplish. It's really funny. Yugao's face was full of shock. As a fugitive Jinchuriki, he had been hunted down by the secret forces of the Hidden Mist Village, trying to take back the power of the tailed beasts from him. He was not afraid of those hunting forces, but he didn't expect that there was an organization secretly targeting him. No, to be precise, it was targeting the Jinchuriki of all the tailed beasts, and according to the careless girl in front of him, they were all extraordinary and had the power to capture the Jinchuriki of the tailed beasts. Chapter 78. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Moreover, it seems that there is a base and their members near this country of soup. It seems that I have to hide and disappear for a while, as long as I can get away. He used the time of conversation to accumulate chakra, intending to use a reverse seal to break the connection between himself and the Vulpix. At that time, he will exert his full strength to show the blue form of the Vulpix, but suddenly, he felt a strange sense of disharmony in the things in front of him. When he blinked again, he saw that the messy forest destroyed by the tailed beast ball and the white monster, and the startled birds disappeared in an instant. Everything returned to its original state, and in his perception, there was no seal imposed by Yang No on his body. Could this be? Cold sweat could not stop flowing, and Yugao felt incredible. Could it be that everything that happened before, that extremely fierce battle, was just an illusion? When did it start? He looked around and suddenly realized that it was when he killed the opponent's shadow clone and met the opponent's real body for the first time. It turned out that at that time, the pupil power of the Sharingan was so terrifying that he couldn't believe it at all. Although it is said that the perfect Jinchuriki can ignore those illusions, Yugao is just an incomplete Jinchuriki who can't control the powerful power of the tailed beast in his body. If possible, he even wants to escape from this power and the painful memories it brings to him, and from before. While releasing the Yang No, who deliberately revealed a lot of important information to Yugao in the illusion that could not be monitored by others. The core requirement is 2 words: run fast. Yes, as the second to last member of the new Akatsuki organization, our Yang No directly dismantled the corners of the organization without any psychological burden. If possible, she hopes that the 6-tailed Jinchuriki in front of her can go to a big village like Konoha or Kumikage, and then tell their Kage the information he extracted in the battle. In this way, the safety of the Jinchuriki can be guaranteed, and the time for the Akatsuki organization to capture the Jinchuriki can be greatly delayed. If you look at it from the perspective of an outsider, then the 2 of them fought for a few rounds at the beginning, as Yang No used the shadow clone to attract his attention. the girl's true body appeared above his head. The moment their eyes met, Yang No's eyes turned into the kaleidoscope of the diamond-patterned cherry. Everything that happened afterwards was just a deduction in her illusion. The reason why she could use that sealing technique was because she had seen a similar scene in a comic in her previous life, so she simulated it in the illusion. Yu Gao looked at Yang No vigilantly. He was still sorting out his thoughts. Having just woken up from the illusion, Yu Gao couldn't fully adapt to everything in front of him. This feeling was like a person who had been in the water for too long and suddenly came ashore, but he was sure of a few things, that is, the value of the information he had obtained. In the future, when he saw Uchiha Yang No like this, the ninja wearing this black-bottomed red cloud robe must be careful to deal with it, and run away if it doesn't work. He didn't plan to stay in this place of right and wrong. According to what the girl in front of him revealed to him in the illusion, the Akatsuki organization not only has a base in Yonokuni, but also has many members, all of whom are extraordinary. Therefore, he symbolically took a few steps back, saving enough strength to instantly transform into a tailed beast. Although he didn't know why the girl in front of him didn't take advantage of his illusion to attack, he was still extremely vigilant. Seeing that Yang No had no intention of continuing to chase, he took a few more steps back tentatively. The girl seemed to be annoyed by his little trick and said impatiently, "Now you know how powerful I am. I don't have time to waste on you. Get out of my sight." Hearing Yang Nai say this, Yu Gao breathed a sigh of relief and turned away quickly. Looking at Yu Gao's figure going away, she glanced around with the corner of her eyes. After seeing that there was no one, the girl continued to move forward in her original direction. She met Yu Gao, who was obviously hired by someone to prevent her from returning to the hot spring hotel. This obviously meant that the hot spring hotel was also attacked. She didn't have time to delay. Ding, ding, ding. The kunai in Uchiha Jiaha's hand and Zabuza's beheading sword collided several times, and sparks burst out in the air. In fact, they had fought like this several times just now. Each time, Zabuza suddenly appeared in a thick fog and attacked a tribe member with weak defense. Then, before he could cause real killing, he was immediately rescued by Uchiha Jiaha or Uchiha Yema. Then, after a brief fight between the few people, Zabuza, who felt defeated, would escape into the thick fog again. This thick fog was enough to obscure the vision of the Sharingan, making it impossible to use it at all. The fire escape just now blew away the thick fog for a while, but the fire escape could not last long, and the thick fog continued. Soon, the Yema brothers were helpless. From the perspective of the restraint of the thick fog on the Sharingan, Yang No chose the Blood Mist village as a base, which was really a difficult choice. Sure enough, Zabuza jumped back and disappeared again in the thick fog. Then, his faint voice came from the thick fog. The human body's weaknesses include the heart, kidneys, spleen, carotid artery, spine, and throat. Which weak point do you want to be hit? No matter which weakness it is, the silent killing technique of the Mist Shadow Special Forces can kill people instantly. You are the next target, the little Uchiha girl with pigtails. Zabuza's words were as vague as his voice. He deliberately used this method similar to calling out names to distract their attention. Sometimes he was just making a feint to the east and attacking in the west, and sometimes he turned the tables and attacked the Uchiha clan member he named. But to be honest, from Yang No's perspective, this battle was indeed a bit of a fight between noobs. Up to now, Zabuza had attacked in the mist 4 times, including his fellow Kirigakure rebels, but he had not been able to kill even one Uchiha clan member. Similarly, the Uchiha clan member with 2 pairs of 3 Magatama Sharingan actually let Zabuza attack him 4 times, but he was not able to catch him once. Considering that Kakashi only has a 3 Magatama Sharingan, he was able to knock Zabuza down twice, so the difference in strength between the 2 men is probably 8 times that of Kakashi. Before the words in the mist had faded, Zabuza's figure appeared behind Uchiha Hana like a ghost, and this time he chose to attack against the Uchiha clan member. Chapter 79. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As if she had not expected this, Uchiha Hana looked completely frightened. As a support-type ninja, she was not proficient in fighting at all, but their formation just now became scattered in the chaos, exposing her. Success, Zabuza thought to himself. The beheading sword swung, but it was blocked by Uchiha Hana in the next moment. She actually had a short sword in her hand. and in a short time, she exchanged several blows with Zabuza. "What's going on?" The weak girl in front of him flashed with white smoke and turned into a sneering Uchiha Uchiha. "When did he use the transformation technique?" "Oh no, it's a trap." After so long, the Uchiha clan finally came up with some decent tactics. Uchiha Yama, who turned into a flying wind shuriken, took advantage of the situation and appeared behind Zabuza. His speed suddenly increased a few points. He swung his fist to create a strong wind, forming a pincer attack on Zabuza. 8 Gates Ninjutsu open. This Uchiha clan member actually practiced the 8 Gates Ninjutsu, a secret technique handed down from the Warring States period. Before Might Guy's final battle, this had always been considered a useless secret technique with disproportionate effort and benefits. However, he only learned a little bit from the scrolls handed down from ancient times. In addition, practicing ninjutsu took up a lot of his energy, and he had no famous teacher to guide him, so he was not even considered an entry level. Otherwise Zabuza would probably have died. In a hurry, Zabuza risked his arm being hit by the dagger and bleeding profusely, and his back took away most of Uchiha Yama's strength, and he escaped from the trap at the cost of spitting blood. And the other Uchiha clan members seemed to have made an appointment, and at the same time, they launched a counterattack on the surrounding areas, the rebel ninjas of the Hidden Mist village. Anyone who tried to attack was either killed or injured. Now that things have come to this, is it only a retreat? Zabuza wiped off the blood that overflowed from his mask, but it is rare to miss such a good opportunity as today. Thinking of this, and the task and reward given to him by his employer, Zabuza gritted his teeth. He raised his left hand and made a gesture. That gesture meant that the assassination plan had failed, and it immediately turned to a strong attack. As the thick fog driven by ninjutsu gradually dissipated, the scenery in front of the Uchiha people became clear. The inn had long been a ruin, with only traces of ninjutsu release and attackers who had lost their ability to move everywhere. In the woods, the various rebel ninjas who were not good at carrying out assassination missions in the thick fog stood up one after another. Their origins were very complicated. There were people wearing rebel ninja forehead protectors from various ninja villages, and even ninjas from the local soup country. This was nearly 100 people, the entire force, and the dozen or so rebel ninjas from Kirigakure were only used as the first wave of attack because they could use Kirigakure's silent killing technique. Water style, waterfall technique. As Zabuza formed seals with his hands, a huge torrent of water swirled and rushed towards the Uchiha clan, as if it was a signal. The rebel ninjas also launched an attack. Zabuza's waterfall was blocked by the Uchiha clan using fire style, but under the continuous guidance of Zabuza's chakra, the geographical advantage of being close to the hot spring was fully utilized. Although the water flow lost its impact due to the effect of fire style, the water flow that was constantly drawn from the hot spring still covered everyone's ankles. Right now, after all, Uchiha Yama lacked experience in fighting against the Mist Ninja, and he did not have the intelligence analysis obtained from the original work like Yang No could use to coordinate his talent. He was surprised to find that in the blind spot of the Sharingan, in the water flowing by his ankles, Zabuza's water clone appeared. The next moment, his body was directly trapped by the water clone using the water prison technique, which directly destroyed his combat effectiveness. Bastard! Seeing his brother trapped, Uchiha Uchiha used silk threads to control several shurikens and attack Zabuza's water clone, but suddenly the accumulated water around him turned into countless sharp needles piercing Uchiha. Secret technique, 1,000 killings water flying. A young man wearing a mask of the Hidden Mist Village's hunting troops took action. It was by seeing that the two people who posed the greatest threat to him were trapped, and the remaining Uchiha clan members were attacked by several rebel ninjas. It was time to complete the harvest. After roughly bandaging the wound on his hand, Zabuza raised his beheading sword again. It was about to launch the final attack on the Uchiha clan members. Swish, a rapidly approaching afterimage appeared in his retina. He quickly raised the beheading sword to block. With a bang, the two huge forces collided, and his body was knocked back more than 10 meters by this blow before he barely stopped on the water. Since obtaining the broken sword and beheading sword, Zabuza has been practicing the swordsmanship of the beheading sword. When he fights against ninjas who usually use light weapons with extraordinary physical strength, the weight of the Blade and deliberate practice often allow him to gain an advantage when facing those ordinary ninjas, but he did not expect that he would suffer such a big loss in strength. Zabuza narrowed his eyes and saw that the person who appeared in front of him was a ninja with a face like a shark, wearing a black robe with red clouds, tall, and carrying a sword wrapped in white cloth on his back. There was also a clear scratch on his forehead. "What an anxious junior," that the man said, showing his sharp teeth like a shark. "I never thought that the person who got the Biwa Juzo beheading sword was actually you." "I didn't expect that either." Zabuza knew what a tough opponent he was facing, and he smiled grimly. It turned out to be Senior Hoshigaki Kisame. "I heard that when you defected from the village, the Mizukage sent a lot of hunting troops to chase you, but unfortunately you finally escaped with the big sword Samahata. For a while, the training target in our school was you as the imaginary enemy. I was always curious about where you would escape to. It turns out you chose to be a loyal dog of the Uchiha family." Kisame Hoshigaki smiled nonchalantly. "The organization I joined is an organization with lofty ideals and aspirations, but I can't imagine that the younger generation ninja who was rumored to have slaughtered all his companions in the ninja school also betrayed the hidden mist village. What was the reason? For more killing? Or for money? Aren't you now just a ninja without dignity who makes money on commissions? To be more precise, you are like a pet dog." At this point, both of them knew that there was only one fight. The next moment, they took advantage of the terrain and used water escape at the same time. Water Style, Water Dragon Bullet Technique. Water Style, Water Dragon Bullet Technique. Chapter 80. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The same moves performed by the two of them were clearly superior. Whether it was the speed of the hand seal or Kisame's terrifying chakra, the water dragon he summoned had the upper hand. Compared with Zabuza's water dragon, his water dragon was like a giant dragon and a big snake. The difference was so obvious, seeing his own water dragon was completely shattered and washed away by the water dragon bullet summoned by Kisame. Zabuza carried the beheading sword and jumped back several steps on the waves, finally avoiding the water that was rolling back towards him, but his face became even gloomier. The task he received required him to kill as many members of the Uchiha clan as possible. The employer did not seem to think that he and hundreds of rebellious ninjas could directly wipe out the Uchiha clan, although Uchiha Haruno, the big trouble, did not show up as promised, but meeting Kisame here still surprised Zabuza. Just the fight just now made him feel extremely difficult. What's more, as one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, he knew how terrifying the sword Samahata held by Kisame was when it was fully released. He began to think about whether to fight or retreat, but Kisame did not give him time. He jumped up and quickly formed a seal in the air. Water Style, Exploding Water Wave. A huge amount of water waves came out of his mouth, and then several sharks swam in the waves. The sharks formed by Water Style 5 Samadin did not attack Zabuza from the front, but attacked from underwater, biting Zabuza's legs. On the Samahata held by Kisame in the air, the white cloth had been half unfolded, and black spikes like countless rows of fangs were extending outwards ferociously. Zabuza wielded the beheading sword to cut open the sharks, and then wielded the beheading sword to fight with Kisame. After several rounds, the one who was already the injured Zabuza gradually couldn't hold on any longer, and suddenly he felt a chill on his shoulder, followed by a burning sensation. The big sword Samahata cut off a piece of flesh from his shoulder, and also bit off a part of his chakra. Zabuza once again rolled backwards in embarrassment, jumping out of the attack range of Samahata and shark. He looked anxiously and saw that the Uchiha clan had killed the group of rebellious ninjas to pieces, and his right-hand man who was standing by, couldn't destroy the 3 hooks even after using the bloodline limit, magic mirror ice crystal. The Jade Sharingan's Uchiha combined with his lack of chakra made it disadvantageous for the young man to continue the stalemate. Thinking of this, he once again accumulated the remaining chakra and used the Water Style, Great Waterfall technique, using the impact to sweep the shark away while attacking Kisame to buy time. Then he created a water clone and gathered the remaining chakra in his feet, trying to escape from the battlefield and retreat with Haku. However, the water clone he summoned only lasted for a few breaths before Kisame used it unreasonably. The larger-scale water-style ninjutsu was directly shattered. Now Zabuza understood the gap between him and Kisame. The opponent had not yet used Samehada's ability to devour. He felt his body suddenly being bitten by several sharks composed of water-style chakra, then he was hit by Samehada, and his body was spun by the impact and flew to a tree tens of meters away, coughing up blood. The last scene he saw was his assistant Bai, who was stabbed through the vest by a girl wearing the same black and red robe as Kisame. Is this the beginning of hell? Or the end of hell? Somehow, Zabuza thought of these words in his heart, looking at the masked young ninja who fell to the ground. Bai's eyes gradually became blurred. Uchiha Haruno shook off the blood stains on the knife and sheathed the knife with a handsome posture. She had deliberately avoided Bai's vital parts before. This blow only made him lose his ability to move and continue to bleed, but as long as he received timely treatment, he could still save his life. For the girl, Bai and Zabuza, their identities made their value of living much higher than the value of killing them. If they were killed, it would only mean that the world would lose a few first-class ninjas, and if they were kept, especially if they were kept with such deep ties that could be used as threats, whether it was to find out the real culprit who wanted to attack them behind the scenes, or to use them as pawns to go to the hidden mist village, it would be the best choice. Kisame. The girl shouted from afar. Kisame in the distance was pouring chakra into the white bandages, and then he activated Samehada's ability to absorb chakra. Circles of white bandages were directly absorbed by Samehada, and they automatically wrapped around it as if they had life. Hearing what Yang No said, he turned around, and the girl smiled at him. Thank you for your help. Kisame grinned. It's nothing, just warming up the muscles. Have you completed your mission? That since there were other people on the scene, he tried to be as vague as possible. Yang No nodded, pointed at Zabuza who was unconscious beside him and said. That guy is the leader of this attack, right? That's right. Kisame said. That man is Zabuza Momochi, who is from the same village as me. He is known as a demon man. The beheading sword on him is what I mentioned to you before, Biwa Juzo. But it seems that people who hold that sword will not have good luck. He grinned and laughed silently. He probably hasn't mastered the use of the knife yet, and he ran into such a tough guy in his first big deal. He's not dead yet, is he? Kisame put the bandaged sword Samehada back on his back, stretched his shoulders, twisted his neck and said. Who knows? Uchiha Yema, who was rescued from the water prison, came to Yang No with a guilty look on his face, half knelt down and said. The subordinates could still sense his chakra just now. Well, since we have clan members as subordinates, our eldest lady is too lazy to even open the Sharingan. After saying this, he said to Yang No ashamedly. My subordinates were incompetent and caused our tribe to be in dire straits. Fortunately, with the help of this senior, we were able to save the lives of all our tribesmen. Yang Nai nodded and said. Let Boni treat the wounded. Her task is a bit harder. Even the masked ninja boy and Zabuza should help treat their wounds. Of course, the priority can be lower. Just keep them alive. When treating the injuries of our people, we must ensure that no sequelae are left behind. Chapter 81. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yes. On the side, Hannah, who basically did not participate in any battles throughout the whole process and was only using chakra to heal the tribe members, immediately followed her words. At the end, Yang No ordered the brothers Yima to lead people to hunt down the fleeing rebel ninjas and make sure not to let any of them go. This hot spring hotel has been completely destroyed, and the original waiters on the first floor may have been killed by the rebel ninjas. Therefore, they found an open space next to the hot spring to repair it. After hearing the whole process of the mission from the Uchiha brothers Yima, Yang No couldn't help but sweat for them. To be fair, although Zabuza is still very strong, he is not so strong that he can beat 40 Uchiha clan members with the cooperation of a group of rebel ninjas. The main reason is that as a young and vigorous faction, independent of the Konoha ninja system, and lacking any combat experience because of his young age in the ninja world. Combat experience and intelligence are the two key factors that determine victory or defeat, at least in the early to mid-term. As for the later stage, it is a fight between Gundam and Bo Shinxian, which is not within the scope that this group of people need to consider for the time being. However, she did not blame the two for this, but comforted them with a few kind words. As night fell, the group returned to the state of sleeping in the open air. The only one or two intact rooms were left to Haruno and Kisame, and the rest of the people camped in the wild. Zabuza woke up in a daze, and then felt severe pain all over his body. The wounds on his body and the great fatigue tortured his tough nerves. He squinted his eyes. The firelight made him feel a little uncomfortable. It took him a few seconds to see the things in front of him clearly. Then Zabuza's eyes focused on a figure wearing a blood-stained mask in front of him. That was Bai's mask. Zabuza felt his consciousness was in a trance for a while, and then he woke up instantly. The person in front of him was not Bai. His pupils shrank. "You bastard." Zabuza's teeth were creaking. He stared at the mask closely. Although it was a familiar mask, it was not worn on the face of a person he was familiar with. After a moment of silence, Zabuza finally said, "What did you do to him?" "Ah, how disappointing." Haruno took off Bai's mask from her face and threw it at Zabuza's feet. "After all, my body shape is similar to his. I thought you would mistake me for him." "Well, our young No is still in the stage of physical development. If it's another year or two, she will definitely not say such a thing. Of course, this is nonsense. There are at least 5 ways for Yang No to disguise herself as Bai and get information from Zabuza, but she doesn't need to spend so much effort on a defeated general." Looking at the bloody mask on the ground, Zabuza gritted his teeth and said, "Do you think I'm a fool? What did you do to him?" "I saw you kill him from behind with a knife." "What?" Yang Nai asked teasingly. "Fortunately, I just heard your identity from Kisame. I didn't expect that as a traitor, as a demon Zabuza, a ruthless character who killed all the students of the same level as his own ninja school. I thought you were a machine without emotions loyal to your employer." Zabuza closed his eyes and muttered to himself after a while. "Bai, that child, he is different." Yang Nai smiled indifferently, leaning back in the chair lazily. "Come on, you know what I want to ask, then I am too lazy to ask questions, just start from the beginning." Zabuza snorted coldly. "Since you know my name, you also know my principle as a hired ninja, which is not to disclose the information of my employer. Bai is not dead yet." Yanori suddenly spoke, and this seemingly irrelevant sentence touched Zabuza's nerves. "But his condition is not good, and my people are trying their best to save him. But our medical ninjas don't have enough chakra, and I'm wondering if it's necessary to spend so much effort to save him. If you answer one question, then the probability of him escaping danger may be 1 point higher." Faced with Yang No's threat, Zabuza was very angry, but now his and Bai's life and death were in the hands of others, and he was helpless. Seeing that he hadn't spoken yet, Yang No said again, "Are you sure you want to delay? Of course I can keep you company, but the life of your assistant is not guaranteed." After a moment of silence, Zabuza finally spoke from his bandaged mouth. "Our mission goal is to completely destroy or severely damage the Uchiha clan in the Hot Spring Hotel as much as possible. This mission is coordinated by more than a dozen Kirigakure renegade ninjas who are proficient in Kirigakure assassination techniques, as well as hundreds of other renegade ninjas. As far as I know, these rebels came to the land of Hot Springs in batches from various directions in order to avoid attracting attention. As a key figure, Uchiha Haruno is too powerful, so he is not considered in this battle. She will be restrained by someone sent by the employer. If she sees Uchiha Haruno, this mission can be terminated at any time." Haruno nodded. What Zabuza said was similar to what she thought. "As for the mission client, you know that he is just a white glove. He has connections, and he issues various missions to us rebels, and updates the bounty on the black market, but the person who really wants to hire us must be some force behind the white glove." What he said made sense, so Yang No began to ask questions about the details that interested him. "What is the bounty for this mission?" "I got 8 million Ryo, and the other ninjas shared the other 8 million Ryo." No said, and calculated in her heart, "If we add the price of hiring the Six-Tails Jinchuriki Yugao, it will definitely not be less than 8 million Ryo, or even more." The client who hired the killer spent a lot of money. Under Zabuza's gaze, Yono sat on the chair and began to think, well, she was the only one who could act calmly when being stared at by the demon, who organized this assassination. First of all, the other party's intention was very clear, and the target was the Uchiha clan members other than herself. This target showed that the other party had a 10-point understanding of their intelligence, and knew that except for her, a difficult person, the rest of the Uchiha clan members were within the range of hiring some rebel ninjas to solve. Another point is that the other party should not know the existence of the Akatsuki organization, so they did not take Kisame into consideration. In fact, if Kisame did not take action, this battle might really allow them to achieve partial success.